So you just finished watching Hataraku Saibo! And I knew what you're thinking. It's just a cute little anime about cellular girls doing cellular things. However, it also provides a great insight on the amount of crap that our cute little cells have to deal with every time we put our bodies in danger.
Player 2 defeated! Game!
It's also a very educational show, in which you're guaranteed to get a C whenever you write your cytology research paper. But we all know what you really want to know. A question that we've all had ever since we laid our eyes on her. Can you f it?
Wait a minute, Satumi. You don't have anime girls living inside your body, that's just fiction. Our red blood cells look like this. The scientists said so.
Yeah, I guess you can believe in a bunch of people wearing white lab coats, but you know who also wore white coats?
Oh my god!
Yeah, that's right. If you think your red blood cells look like this, then you're a racist. So now that we agree that we have anime girls living inside of us,
Wait, no I...
how do we go about f***ing it? I guess you could break into some guy's lab and hump a blood bag, but I don't want to have sex with someone else's blood. That's how you get AIDS. Besides, I have a great relationship with my own body. I eat a lot of iron-rich foods and the necessary vitamins in order to increase the number of my red blood cells. I also do a lot of aerobic exercise in order to give my red blood cells more oxygen to transfer to the various parts of my body, thereby providing them jobs and keeping them out of poverty. Now, I could just cut myself like the good old days and have a nice blood sausage, but red blood cells die when they forcibly leave the blood vessel, and I don't want them to die because, first of all, necrophilia is illegal and disgusting, and secondly, I love all my red blood cells, all 200 billion of them that get produced in our bone marrow every day. That's a lot of waifus to love. Hopefully my blood type isn't a yandere. So if my red blood cells can't be with me in my world, then I have to go to their world. I have to shrink myself to the size of a red blood cell.
Okay, Satumi, that's literally impossible. If you want to shrink your body, you'd have to shrink your actual cells too, and because of quantum mechanics, cells cannot become smaller.
Yeah, well, you're racist. But good point. If I did shrink myself, I wouldn't be able to date my red blood cells, because they'd still be in my body. Unless I get a blood transfusion and place a good portion of my red blood cells in a sealed blood bag. Then I can finally shrink myself and embrace my blood fetish.
Well, hold on, Satumi. How are you supposed to shrink yourself?
I don't know. I'm sure if I trap some lollies in a cave, Elon Musk will invent a shrink ray to save them. After all, everybody wants to save the lollies. Wait a minute. If I shrink myself, would I be able to do anything with Hematid-chan? I mean, she might look like a girl, but red blood cells don't have vaginas. Wait a minute. That hat she's wearing, of course! A typical red blood cell's hat has a diameter of approximately 6 to 8 micrometers and a thickness of 2 to 2.5 micrometers. The point is, this dish-shaped-like hat has a divot that's just ready to punch a hole through. The hat also reminds me of the milkman, and his milk is delicious, huh? Anyways, the point is, you can take your hat and move it down, and then put your penis in the hat and pretend it's a vagina. I mean, I guess you can use your mouth, but that's where loogies come from, and that's gross. So now that we have a target to aim for, I have one more problem. Look, it's kind of embarrassing, but if I were to shrink myself, I'd also be shrinking my penis. And I want to feel confident that it'll be big enough to satisfy her. So we need to determine the size of our penis after we shrink ourselves, because her pleasure is just as important as yours. So we're going to do something that has never been done before. Mathematics! First, we need to determine our constant for the average height and penis size of a weeb. And I'm going to be very inclusive for all the little weebs out there. And so we will have the average height be 5 feet with a penis size of 7 inches. I'm pretty sure that's the average. And as for Anthracite-chan, we will use 7 micrometers for her actual height.
Wait, didn't you just say her hat was 7 micrometers? How could she be the same height as her hat? Isn't that what we call a plot hole?
Doctor, we need help!
God damn it, Urban. This is my anime, okay? I can take some creative liberties. If I want my red blood cells to bleed, then I can have them bleed. You and your stupid logic. Everybody's a doctor nowadays, making me lose my train of thought. Anyways, now before we even get started, we have to convert all our measurements into one single unit. So ideally, we want to convert to micrometers because we're shrinking to her size. In order to do that, we need to use cross multiplication. Now for the sake of brevity, we're going to use Google. So 5 feet would be 1,524,000 micrometers, and 7 inches would be about 177,013 micrometers. Once we have our numbers, now we need to apply a mathematical formula, which in this case is just simple arithmetic. You see, if A correlates to B and X correlates to C, then that means if we have C be the height of the red blood cell, divided by B, which is your actual height, equals X, which is the size of your penis after you shrink it, divided by A, which is your actual penis size, you can then arrange the equation to find X, which would be X equals C times A divided by B, or actual penis size times your waifu's height divided by your actual height, in which your shrunken penis will be 0.81 micrometers, or 0.0000314 inches. Now that's what I call a micropenis. But is it big enough for her? Well, I mean, size doesn't really matter. You really shouldn't be thinking about that. It's not good for your self-esteem. Anyways, now that we have gone through this step-by-step process and we've worked around the struggles of life to be with our waifu, I think we finally found an answer to our thesis statement. Can we f it? Unfortunately, we probably drown in our own plasma. What? And even if we survived that, the oxygen cells would be almost the same size as our tiny lungs, so we'd probably asphyxiate. Actually, scratch that. We'd probably explode from the pressure. So no, we can't f it. I know we spent a lot of time and effort trying to prove our theory to be true, but sometimes we just have to admit that we're wrong. And we will never have a cute red blood cell girlfriend. I know you were hard, but at least we can take solace in this. You can't be inside red blood cell Chan, but at least she'll always be inside your heart.
Red team!
And your penis.
Jackpot!